Hey, hi everyone. This is Vinisha, and in today's video, we're going to talk about the cache policy and see how it works. So, the cache policy, which is available in the API management, it enables you to cache the upstream response, such as content, status, and headers, and avoid subsequent calls to the backend. Um, let's say you have a product API wherein you have your product details and your customers hit that API to query the product details and uh, so there are a lot of customers who hit that API repeatedly, and you would send out the same response to those hundreds of calls each and every time by hitting the backend API. So if you can make use of the cache policy in such scenarios, what you can do is cache the response of the API and send it back to your customers without having to invoke the API each and every time. So if you do this way, you'll be able to save the memory and processing and by avoiding the subsequent calls to your API. So let's see a demo as to how it all works. So I am in my API management screen and I'll be showing you how to create the cache API policy. So let's give it a name. Um, Test cache 2024 one. And you'll have to select the method, HTTP method, whatever you want to use. So I want to use a get, and I'll go with the default creation. You can also use the advanced creation, but let me just go with the default creation for now. You'll have to enter a name for your cache. So I'll just enter my test cache 2024 one. And here you have to enter the key which you want to cache. So let's say you have a product ID parameter or any other parameter which you want to cache, you will have to enter that key here. So I'll just go with the product ID key. So based on this, I want to cache the response. And this is time to live. So this is a TTL which you can set up. So here by default it is 600, which is 5 minutes. And let's say you get a number of calls in those 5 minutes. Your response, your API response will be retrieved from this cache policy instead of hitting the backend API. So here I'll just select the method as get, and the response condition would be this one. So I want to upstream uh, this responses, and I'll select the scope as API. Just click on save. So once this is done, you will have to assign it to your API. So here in my case, this is my API, and you'll have to select when you want to execute this policy. So I'll select before request and before standard policies and just click on save. So this is now successfully attached to your API. So let me just show you the API as well. So this is my API, cache API component, and this is my listener process. So I'm just exposing the current date time as part of this API so that we can better understand how this cache policy works. So I'll just go back to my Postman screen. So this is on my local gateway. I'll just try to hit the API. So as you can see, the API call is successful with 200 OK, and this is the current date time. So it's 21:27 at the moment. And remember, we have set the TTL as 5 minutes. So if I hit this API once again, so I have passed the product ID as one. We are caching the API on this parameter product ID. So let's hit the API one more time. And you see the time doesn't change. So if your API request is invoked in the backend, ideally it would have fetched the current date, but this response is coming from the cache policy. So I'll hit it a few more times, and you'll notice that it will not change because the call is not going to the backend, and instead you are seeing this response from your cache policy. So let me just show you the process reporting as well. So you'll only see one API call, which is at 21:27. Ignore this one. This is from my previous testing. So this is the first execution, which is at 21:27. And the response doesn't change until 5 minutes. So if you hit the API after 5 minutes, you'll see the new updated time here. So let's say if I want to change my ID, so let's say I'll give the product ID as 2. So this is the first time this product ID 2 call is going. So ideally, ideally this should invoke the backend API because it is a different request. So there you go. You see the time as 29:16, and in process reporting, you will see one more call. Yeah, and let's hit it one more time. So you notice the time is not changing because this response is coming from the cache. So for the next 5 minutes, no matter how many times you hit the API, you'll see the same response. So let's say if I go and hit the previous one, ID 1, it will give me the first timestamp. So I hope this information helps, and you have got an idea as to how the cache policy works. Thank you so much for watching this video. Bye.